Hey guys, welcome back to another Sunday video. We're taking a look at the markets for the week ahead, and we're going to be talking about the top trading setups that I am looking at and things that I could potentially see myself taking actual positions on. Let's go ahead and jump into some charts and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's get started. Okay, so I wanted to start where we usually start, which is the US dollar. Take a look at what happened to the dollar this past week. Now, this is a daily chart, and you can kind of see what went down. We had major dollar bullishness this week, followed by, towards the end of the week, just a little bit of capitulation. Now, some people are going to argue that, well, that's a big red candle that could lead to a big sell-off next week, and perhaps it does, but for me, what this is just signaling is just some consolidation prior to still remaining bullish. If we take a look here at the higher time frame, you can see that we're trending up very, very nicely. And for me, this would be a really tough thing to jump in front of. So if you're asking me, Nick, what are you doing about the US dollar? For me, the answer is I am buying it on pullbacks, not trying to sell it at any time when the market is doing stuff like this. Sometimes a very tempting thing is when something moves up like this, you say, hey, that looks like a good opportunity to start shorting this thing because now it's got to come down. But the truth is this market can go on much longer than people may expect, and it has been doing so for a very long time. This year has been really, really good for my trading because a lot of my trades have been bullish on the US dollar in an atmosphere where the Fed remains hawkish, remains raising rates, and trying to combat inflation. When they combat inflation, what happens is they raise rates, they cut their balance sheet, and that strengthens the US dollar. We expect that to continue until further notice, and when it stops, then we'll start looking at the other scenario, looking perhaps at short side. For now, we remain bullish on the US dollar against most currencies out there. So let's go look at some of those individual crosses. Well, first, let me just finish my thought here. So any pullbacks next week, if they do start to pull back, to me would be opportunities to look for possible long continuations on the US dollar. So I mentioned, let's go take a look at some of the individual crosses to see if there's some opportunities on the dollar this week. Starting with euro dollar. Now, euro dollar, what I'm going to say about this is that there are some setups that I really like, but we may not be getting them right away. In fact, to me, an area that I'm like, okay, yes, I would sell this would be right here. Look historically what we have happening. If we zoom in on this and this, what we can see is that in these areas, we found a lot of bullish pressure. Like it was really, really a strong area for buyers, right around 1.04. But then in recent times, in fact, this past week on the daily chart, we had this big flush to the downside that held throughout the week. For me, there's nothing really to look at for the euro dollar. We had this big flush to the downside. That was the move. Like if you were short biased on this, that was the trade right there. Of course, I know I'm speaking in hindsight, but we broke this level, so any retest to that area, especially in a bearish trend like this where I'm not a big fan of the euro, they're having an energy crisis, things are really negative for the euro pairs, I'm looking to short euro. So where would I short it? On a prospective retest of this previous zone of what was support, looking resistance in an overall downward trend. And so that's pretty much all I have to say for the euro dollar, keeping it pretty dang simple there. There's nothing for me to do down here. Yes, maybe if you're an intraday trader, we could take a look at this. Maybe if you agree, you think like, yeah, I think we're going up there, but maybe there's something shorter term. Perhaps you're the sort of trader to look for breakouts. You're looking for things like this. To be fair, maybe on the lower time frames, we have some swing back the other direction. So perhaps you could be looking to go long in the shorter term. I don't discriminate when it comes to day trading and swing trading. I personally am a swing trader, but I recognize that sometimes you're going to get people like this, right, who are able to spot a setup on the lower time frame, take advantage of some prospective short-term bullishness, and then still respect the higher time frames and look at the longer-term downward trend that we're looking at. Yes, the euro dollar, it has been extended to the downside and perhaps could see some bounce back. But for me, the trade scenario that I like is a move back up to right around 1.04 on the dot, a retest of this previously broken level of structure. So that's what we'll be looking out for on euro dollar next week. Let's take a look at GBPUSD, another big one on the list, of course. Let's take a fresh look here and see what happened this past week, just from a quick daily chart perspective. Big flush to the downside, followed by some rallies towards the end of the week. If you're looking at this thing on the 4-hour chart, excuse me, if you're looking at this thing on the 4-hour chart, we have to sort of acknowledge what we're seeing here. We are seeing price struggle right around this candle. If we draw this level of resistance, you can kind of see what's been going on. Price came right on up to this area, rejected, price shot back up to this area, and is now thinking about this. If you are a pound dollar bear, you may be taking this as an opportunity to reload and say, hey, more downside to come. I think that we're extending past the lows and that this is a great opportunity to just jump into the overall short bias trade. I would tend to agree with that. We're in a really risk-off atmosphere. So if we take a look at something like GBPUSD on our market scanner, this thing gets a -8. It's a strong sell. And the reasoning for that is if we go into the individual components, let's go look at GBPUSD here for a second. It gets a strong sell in almost every single category that we scan for. Take a look at, for example, COT data. This is going to be your banks and institutional positions. And if we look right here, take a look. GBP is very heavily shorted by institutional money. Conversely, the US dollar is very heavily being longed or bought by institutional traders. Now, I know that a lot of people have questions about the institutional data. So COT data is something that is available to the public, but our dashboard puts it into a data visualization that is really easy to use. Let me show you one more way to look at the smart money tracker that we just recently finished. So you have this. If I take a look at GBP, I can see that 71%, this is our smart money tracker. It tracks all the big positions that go on in the markets according to the commitment of traders data. We pull it in and then we make it visual to our traders who are using our software. So short by 71.5%. That's a big bias towards shorting GBP. In fact, on the top 5 assets to be short on, and according to the commitment of traders data, the number 2 spot goes to GBP, which is a big deal. Conversely, take a look over on the left side. The US dollar is almost 83% long. It's the number 1 ranked highest bullish asset on the list. That's a big deal as well. You can see it visually over here as well. So in that case, we should be, if we're just following what the COT data is telling us, long on US dollar, short on things like GBP, AUD, etc. So let's go look again at this and we say, okay, well, if big money is shorting it and we're seeing a pop to the upside, this could be an opportunity to look to actually go short as well. In fact, let me show you the other reasons that I like potentially going short on GBPUSD. So if I take a look here, and we go back into full screen mode, COT data obviously lends towards being short. Retail sentiment, this is the crowd. The crowd is buying this. The average retail trader right now is saying, I want to buy GBPUSD. That's a red flag because we know that the retail crowd tends to lose money. It's not some, trying to bully anybody or anything like that. It's just the reality of trading. We know that the average amateur crowd tends to lose their money in the markets. So if they're all piled in long, we got to be concerned there. Next up is seasonality. If we take a look at seasonality on the right-hand side of the screen here, in the month of July and in the month of August, this currency pair tends to be negative. That's just a historical study of data that we've done on the site or on the software. So that's where we're at with that. Inflation, unemployment, and interest rate divergence, the economic metrics that we study, tend to favor the US dollar, whereas only GDP growth, which is outpacing in the UK, is the only thing that is blue for the list. So everything is pointing towards a short bias on GBPUSD, and it actually has been pointing to a short bias for over a couple weeks now. So we've been short bias on GU, and so a retest sell to me looks like it is in order. By the way, you guys, if you want access to the Edge Finder, the tool that I just showed you, we're doing 40% off right now. Get access to the tool for a major discounted price. You can use the link in the description and use that promo code YTVIP at checkout, and you'll get access to the software again. And it is our market scanner that we've been working really, really hard on. We just finished the smart money tracker. We have news now, so you can see the upcoming news that's going on. You have a market heat map to see what's moving on the day, currency heat map, that sort of thing. Major and minor currency pairs, do commodities, indices, and so much more. If you want access to this every single day to scan your own charts, use the link down below in the description. Get 40% off with the promo code down below. All right, let's keep going. We'll take a look at some more charts here, see what else is on the list. So we looked at EU, we looked at GU. Let's look at dollar yen. So dollar yen, I wanted to buy dollar yen this week, but I never got my levels. So let me show you what I was looking at. I wanted to buy GU. if we were able to get a little bit more of a pullback right on down to this support zone here. Whoops, I messed that up. Let me try that again. If we had seen a pullback to this area, I was really considering getting long and just picking up a little position here. We tried to come down, didn't quite get down to our area, so I didn't get my chance to go long on dollar yen. Still like it long. If it does retest this area, I'll be looking at that potentially going into next week as a idea. Nice overall upward trend. This thing is really quite strong. If you look at it on the daily chart, it's just been incredibly strong. So I think, yes, maybe if I buy this, it could actually not work out and we could go lower, but perhaps I would try again and even again in this region here, right? So the thing is, when I take trades with the idea of being like, I can be wrong, I'm willing to be wrong, and I'm willing to try more than once on an idea that I really like. So I like dollar yen long, but maybe I don't get it here. Maybe I get it here, and that's the trade that works out. Or maybe I get it on the first one, and that's actually just fine, and we continue on with the trend. You know, that's why I will often try more than once. Sometimes my first entry is amazing. Sometimes my first entry is garbage, and it's that second entry that's much better. I usually just stop out quickly and I'll look to retry at another major level. So dollar yen, I like that potentially long. Both levels look pretty interesting for me, but this is miles away right now. It could come into play, but you know, we would need 500 pips to the downside. So not quite there on the daily chart. Anyways, let's keep going. We'll take a look at GJ now. Here's pound yen. So pound yen has been a bit confused. You look at the daily chart, it's a bit confused right now. It is still overall trending to the upside, so we have to give credit where it's due. You can see it rallied right off of these lows very, very nicely last week. So if we were to look at the 4-hour chart, you can see, bam, rallied right off that level beautifully, like really, really strong, just off of that 160.5 level. Now, for the pound yen bulls out there, for those of you guys who are like, I want this thing to continue, here's what I think you need to see. You have a trend line here to the downside. I know I don't usually use trend lines, and it's not my favorite tactic, but for simplicity here, I just want to show something. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, right? That's a big deal because when you have the lower high syndrome, that's negative, right? We're expecting this market to continue to decline. But when we see the breakout, if we see the breakout next week on pound yen, that could lead to some healthy reversal tactics. So that's what I'd be looking at on pound yen. I can't really trade it yet, but if it starts to show signs of higher lows, we've seen it once. We need probably another rally past some levels of resistance, break us out of that little downward trajectory. And really what would even be even more beautiful would be a scream to the upside, break through this level of resistance, right? Because this was kind of our shelf. If we look left, what we see here is that at this moment, we really saw the market take a nosedive on pound yen with some risk off sentiment coming into the market. So, you know, if price does shoot past that level and break above it, that would sign, hey, you know what? We got enough confidence in this market now to retake this area, right? So this is like king of the hill. We need to retake the hill kind of thing. And then we could potentially look for longs. So I like that. Another one is, of course, going to be euro yen, the cousin of pound yen. Take a look at euro yen with me, and you can see the euro, man, has been so incredibly weak. This one, I can't really take a trade either way. I don't love the yen and I don't love the euro. And if I had to pick right now, I would probably pick the yen, to be honest with you. The yen has been quite beaten down and not really behaving like its usual risk-off currency asset class, but it's got its own issues, let's say that. Anyways, euro yen, to be fair though, I also wouldn't be short biased here because we're sitting at a level on the daily chart that is pretty dang clearly support, and we also got a beautiful candle on the close last week. From a daily chart perspective, just from technical analysis, this thing looks bullish. So I wouldn't jump in front of this. I wouldn't try and short this in my personal opinion. In fact, it does look like we may even see just a rally. But if you're like, well, if you like euro yen short, let's see if we get a break underneath, close underneath, retests, and maybe there's signs of a longer term reversal coming. But we just probably need to see this level clear. That would be the spot to look out for. So we looked at pound yen, euro yen. Let's take a look at gold now, see what's going on with XAUUSD. Gold last week was just an absolute firestorm. It just absolutely sold off, tanked all week. It was just really, really quite ugly. Here's the daily chart. And of course, you can kind of see from a technical point of view what happened. We broke this level, and then we really broke it when we broke it. Like, it came under this level, came under fire, and just bled out of all the way down here to 1742. I mean, just an incredible move to the downside. Definitely not what you want to see if you're a bull. Longer term, I had someone point this out to me on a stream. Longer term, we hit a level of support that has not been hit since October of last year, which is this 1740 zone. If you look left, maybe longer term, you're saying I'd like to buy this thing. But in the intraday action, I think what we need to see is some sort of a break. And this is what I was talking about on Friday. I actually pulled up the hourly chart on our live stream for NFP. And I said we pretty much need to see a support break or a resistance break before there's anything even remotely interesting about this chart. We're just in a consolidation phase sitting at support. What that's telling us is that the market is thinking about where we currently sit. We're sitting at a long-term support. Big longer-term buyers may be trying to buy gold, but is it going to be enough to actually hold us here and break us back the other direction? Again, I'm not going to try and speculate because I don't know. But what I will say, though, is I think that there could be some nice momentum plays either direction on the gold market this next week. So, for example, let's say we break to the upside. We close outside. We take out these previous highs and we look strong. Retest buys could be in order, and perhaps we get a stretch of bullishness for the gold market. Maybe we see rallies back up, and that could be an excellent opportunity to trail stops and make some money on gold. Or things continue to be very weak and we just read price action for what it is. If it comes down underneath here, closes underneath there, it's probably more pain in store for the gold market. And there could be some sells and, trailing stops to the downside as well, just going off of that momentum. So be on the lookout, in my opinion, for both scenarios this next week. A break of this consolidation is going to be meaningful because of the context. Longer term, we're sitting at support. A break or a breakout up or a breakout down could both be very interesting for the gold market. And that's where we're at with that. So that's what I would say is main thing for gold overall. Gold on like the 4-hour chart looks bearish, right? Looks really, really ugly. But on the longer term, like the weekly chart, right? You can't argue with the fact that we've been upwards overall, and we are getting probably longer term to some decent value places. You may see some of the longer term buyers start stepping in, but it might also be all the way back down at the 1700 mark. So you could be very early if you're trying to jump into trades right now. So from a day trader perspective, I'd be very careful. I'd be looking at the breaks either direction. From a longer term perspective, perhaps you're looking for a chance to buy gold as a longer term asset investment, whatever you do. Long term, maybe there's that 1700 mark to look out for. So that's what I would say on gold. Let's see, what else can we take a look at? How about Aussie dollar? Aussie dollar, another one. I've been trading this one recently. And for me, Aussie dollar has been really, really bearish overall. I've been looking for sell setups on this chart. In fact, I'm still looking for sell setups. If we do try to retest some areas here this coming week, to me, that could be opportunities to sell into supply zones like this one and this one. So maybe longer term, looking for something like that. And if I take a look at the higher time frames, here's the 4-hour view. Plot some moving averages just to show you. We're trending very well to the downside. You've got those lower highs. I would not mind the idea of poking up in here and just retesting in a consolidation phase. Yes, that kind of means that we're going sideways, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't mind reloading on a sideways move if I get a decent entry, right? So if I'm able to get a decent entry where, yeah, I may go into consolidation for a while, but I could still make some money, especially if it just does rush to the downside and breaks. I'm bearish on the asset, so I don't mind sitting through consolidation at times. So that's where I'm at with AUDUSD. I mentioned earlier that this one is near the bottom of our scale. AUDUSD comes in as a strong sell on our market scanner, the A1 Edge Finder. So that is also going to lend towards me looking to short this pair. So I have been short on this one. I made some money recently on it. So let's see if we can make some more coming into this week. Again, sells in potential retest areas like this. Stops probably above this structure here. So that lends towards a stop loss of about 45 pips for a swing trader, that's not so bad, and perhaps targeting the previous low as a minimum, or like as a kind of a main idea. But then really, because I trail stops, if you're familiar with my trading style, I'm looking to hold this thing perhaps even beyond the previous support. I don't take my profits when they hit a level. What I do is I trail stops at levels. So for example, if price comes up here and then drops all the way down here, what I would do is I would take that that stop loss and I would trail it behind market structure, wherever that may be. So that's how I manage trades. If you would like to see those sort of videos, feel free to check out my playlist called Watch Me Trade. You can see real trades in action, start to finish, explained, broken down, etc. And if you'd like to see my trades in real time, then you can actually get the alerts sent to your phone inside of our Discord channel. I'm in a couple really nice trades that I took this previous end of week. So I had USD CHF, I'm long on that, and CAD CHF, I'm still long on that. Both of those are trades that are going very, very well. And if you would like to see all of my trades broken down inside of our VIP group, the link for that will also be down below in the description. So remember, you got all sorts of different things to get access to in the description. You can get our market scanner, you can get our access to our Discord, whatever you'd like. You can get our trade alerts, chat rooms, coaching webinars. We do all sorts of stuff here at A1 Trading. My team and I are able to do quite a few things for the service that we offer. So thank you guys very much for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed it, smash the thumbs up button, and happy trading in the week ahead.